Okay, thank you. I'd like to call to order the Whatcom County Council meeting for February 23rd, 2021. It is 6:01 p.m. and we are meeting virtually. Could you please call the roll?
Red Brown,
Here.
Barry Buchanan,
Here.
Tyler Bird,
Here.
Todd Donovan,
Here.
Ben Ellenboss,
Present.
Carol Frazee,
Here.
Kathy Kirschner.
Here.
Let the record show all council members are present. Could you please display the flag and then join me in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a couple announcements. The council's is accepting applications for county residents to fill vacancies on several boards and commissions. You can find more information by visiting the boards and commissions page on the Whatcom County's website. We also have a special announcement today. We have a longtime council office employee, Nadine Hanson, is retiring at the end of this week. And on behalf of the council and the council office staff, I'd like to thank Nadine for all of her 27 years of awesome work that she's done and with Whatcom County. And we wish her the very best and for her and Rod in their life after retirement. So yay.
Yay.
Okay, next up is the county executive's report.
Yes.
Mr. Sadhu, it's so great to see you back at work, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. And yes, sir. Good evening, council. I'll be brief. I think what I would like to urge the council to pick 2 or 3 topics and work on them proactively throughout 2021. I know you guys get very busy with the regular business and as the things come up, but I feel that there are certain things, if council takes up as their initiatives and get to learn more or put questions to the administration about that subject and that how we can move forward. Now, my first example is affordable housing. I think we started last year, but of course it was unusual year and we were all getting used to this Zoom meetings and our attention was diverted to a lot of other important things and learning new rules and roles as COVID was progressing. I think that affordable housing is a subject which is not only impacted in our past several years, but is going to impact several of our future years. This is becoming important because it is now impacting our economic development. It is impacting job creation. It is actually impacting job retention. And more than that, individual families are becoming hard and hard to afford a house or afford to the house they are already living in. So there are 2 or 3 things I would like to work with the council, and we will be more than happy to bring more information or whatever we can facilitate council members to get more knowledge or information about that. The first one is inclusionary zoning. This has been tried very successfully in different jurisdiction throughout our nation and in our state. And this is about that there are certain percentage of any new development has an element of affordable housing. There are some, downfalls like anything else. It always has the other side of the coin. But I think that we can do this something which fits best in our community. The second thing is HB 1590. I'm trying to reach out to each individual council member over next week or 2. I would really like to engage in meaningful discussion and answer questions as well as get new ideas. My thought is that if we go to our constituents, to the voters, that we do it only on a 10-year basis, that there's a sunset clause that this whatever money we collect will do it only for 10 years. And it should actually include not only collecting money, but how we can increase buildable lands, inventory of lots available, as well as augment other incentives to do this. City of Bellingham has considered yesterday in their meeting, and they are preparing some kind of ordinance or document to that. And I had a conversation with Mayor today on this very topic, and I'm going to talk to all the small city mayors on next Tuesday meeting. We have Tuesday morning meeting with all the mayors. And I think that if we do it countywide, it would really help the smaller cities. Now, the city of Bellingham has enough population and tax base to raise a substantial amount of money to do what they want to do in their jurisdiction. But smaller cities, Blaine, Ferndale, Linden, individually, I think that it will be much better if we do a countywide and pool our resources. And then in 10 years is long enough time that we pick projects in each jurisdiction and actually bring them to fruition. And we will have enough funds to be able to do that. If we leave it individually, it becomes difficult. Anyways, I will try to make this case with the other mayors, and I need assistance from all the council members because ask questions, ask tough questions. Rather than having a discussion always dispels some of the fears we may have, some of the apprehensions we may have about this. But if we don't do anything substantial, just talking about it is not going to make it easier. It is going to make it tough, and the future councils, another 2 or 4 years from now, will seem formidable for them to even tackle this. I think that if we can make an effort, however small we can do, we can start making a difference. The third thing is the EDI application. I have asked my administration, and I'm in discussion with Ferndale and Blaine city managers to see how can we revise the EDI application, that affordable housing becomes one of the line item along with the jobs. So far, we have been mostly spending money on, you build it, they will come, or we are going to retain 10, 20 jobs, or we are going to create 10 or 20 jobs. I think that affordable housing should be a factor in retaining and expanding jobs. It should be a equal opportunity, and the projects with the affordable housing element, they don't have to be all affordable housing units. They can have an element of 10, 20, 30% of their units are affordable, then they should become eligible for infrastructure or other funding from EDI. So that is the one thing. And one more thing I want to share with you is that we have gone through COVID, we have gone through the health board and public health advisory board. I think that I would urge council to take up this matter and maybe increase the health board to 9-member board and bring in representation from small city mayor or council, bring in representation from Bellingham, city mayor or council, and bring in representation from a couple or more, whatever you think is appropriate, from medical community, and bring maybe 1 or 2 people from the business community. I think as we were going through last year, we saw that there are some gaps in our dealing with the health board. And I think Councilmember Donovan has done an extensive study on how different counties have done. I have done some study that Skagit County does not have even one of their commissioners on their health board. They have a 5-member health board, and they're all people from medical or business or other areas. Same is in Benton and Franklin. They have a joint. They don't have every council member or commissioner on their health board. And same is in Thurston County, other counties, and we will be bringing some more information to the council on this subject that I would really like the council to take up this issue and work through it so that before summer or even earlier, we can do some modifications to our health board. There are a few other things, but I'll stop here and I will keep sharing with you. But I would really urge council, please pick 2 or 3 topics for this year 2021 and make it a goal that we're gonna work on these 3 things and bring to fruition, whatever that fruition is going to look like. But just doing work on ad hoc basis or emergency basis, or as things come up, I think that we sometimes lose sight of very important topics and subjects which are very important and impactful for our community. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Any questions you may have, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you, Executive Sadhu. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to.
Ms. Kirshner has a question.
See, your hand blends in with your back. That's better. That's better.
Like this.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you, Executive Sadhu. My question is about the health board, and I guess I have two parts here. I'm a little surprised that you want us to revise the health board. I had not heard about that until just tonight. And I'm not sure that's necessary, but don't we have that codified either in county code or the charter that the council serves as the health board? Do you know off the top of your head?
In the county code, but not the charter.
Okay.
And I think county can do it through an ordinance, can modify the structure of the health board.
Okay. Maybe we can talk offline about the HB 1590 and the health board,
Sure.
what the concerns are. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol?
Councilmember Frazee, did I see your hand?
I was just going to respond to the question about the health board. I believe from what I've found is that the majority just have to be elected officials. As long as the majority is elected officials, then the other ones could be hopefully, I would like to see some medical professionals.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on. We have four sets of minutes to approve tonight. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve all 4 sets of minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So motion and a second. Any corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Ben Ellenboss,
Yes.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
Kathy Kirschner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. We'll now move into our public hearing section. We have, what, 1, 2. So we have 2 public hearings tonight, and we're moving into that section of our agenda. So if you could roll the video that tells people how they can join the meeting, that would be great.
Welcome to the meeting. For instructions on how to join the meeting to speak, please visit whatcomcounty.us/join-virtual-council. Meeting information, including Zoom meeting link, phone number, webinar or meeting ID, and password, are available under the meeting date at the bottom of the page. Members of the public may join the meeting online or by phone. The meeting is broadcast live and recorded. All speakers will have 3 minutes. When you've joined the meeting, please virtually raise your hand to request to speak. To virtually raise your hand online, click the hand icon at the lower area of your screen. To virtually raise your hand by phone, dial *9 on your keypad. Council staff will call on you by the name listed, or if you're joining by phone, by the last 3 digits of the phone number from which you're calling. When called upon to speak, click the microphone icon to unmute, or if joining by phone, wait till you hear a message indicating the host unmuted your phone. Please first state your full name for the record. Staff will announce when your 3-minute speaking time is up. Camera sharing will not be offered at this meeting. Thank you for joining the meeting.
Okay, our first public hearing is AB 2021-096, which is an ordinance adopting amendments to Whatcom County Code Title 15, which is buildings and construction, to adopt by reference the 2018 editions of the International Building and other associated codes. Curtis, do you have anything before we open the hearing?
Well, good evening, Council Chairman Buchanan and council members. At this point, I do not have a staff report, but I am available for questions.
Okay, any questions before we open the hearing? Seeing none, we will open the public hearing. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak?
There is one attendee listed as Sin and followed by defund BPD. Again, this is for agenda item 2021-096 for an update to the Whatcom County Code for building and construction. If you would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand. We'll go to the person listed as Sin. Please state your full name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here to make a general public comment. So I'm before you start my time, like I'm just confused about where we're at in that component
Okay,
of the meeting.
I can answer the question. General comments are going to come in our public comment section, which is
the second section.
Well, we have 2 public hearings on specific issues, and then we'll go to open session after that.
So should I wait until the second time you open up? Yeah, because I don't have anything to say specifically about Curtis and that stuff.
Yeah. I'll announce the open public session for more general comments, but these next 2 are just on specific items. This is an ordinance for Whatcom County Code. So
the next speaker is Wendy Harris. Go ahead, Wendy. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, got it. You should hear me now, right?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, my concern with this is we weren't given a copy of the building code to compare against the changes we were looking at. So it'd be nice to have. My concern is that because of the firestorms that we're getting in the summer, it would be smart for us to look at how we might want to go above and beyond the normal building code, because we're in that special in a global fire zone designated by the UN, and it's going to get worse. So there's things that we might want to be looking at, like requiring metal roofs and homes designed so that they don't catch embers in areas that are built near the forest edge, and maybe requirements to clear cuttings and plants on property that are close to the forest, because that is actually where you do want to do some biomass clearing and not have anything catch fire. And I'm sure there's a number of other things that we could do that would make those homes more less susceptible of catching fire. And so I think that's something we should look at. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
There are no other hands raised.
Okay, we will close that public hearing. And what are the wishes of the council?
Move approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Bird moves, Donovan seconds. Discussion. Okay, please. Oh, Mr. Donovan.
We're basically adopting making our code compliant with the state law. We don't have much flexibility in terms of what we can do this, right? And I think that's what I've been hearing in our committee meetings on this. So thanks for staff for updating it.
Councilmember Ellenboss.
Yeah, I'm not going to support this. And, you know, I hear everybody saying, well, it's state law. We don't have anything we can do about it. But I guess I feel like I don't think I've heard anybody speak highly of it. All I've heard is concern about how much cost it's going to add to housing up front, which is pretty much a lot of people's barrier to entry on housing. And so, you know, well, if we don't pass it, we may be out of compliance. Well, maybe if everybody who didn't think it was a good idea stood up and said, we don't think this is a good idea, we might be able to make some headway towards a better solution. So I'm not supporting this, and I understand that it's a state law and that we have to do it, but just because it's a state law doesn't mean it's always a good idea. And I feel like if we're serious about helping the people in Whatcom County and working towards affordable housing, we'll stand up and say no when we see things that aren't going to help the people in our county.
Other discussion? Mr. Byrd?
And thanks for the comments. I agree with what you're saying completely on that. And it's hard for me on this one because there are some things in there that I've been trying to get included for a while, and I want to see those go through. So this is kind of a difficult one with everything being in there, but I'm not sure how else you fix that. In addition to that, though, Ms. Harris had made a comment earlier about having a copy with the changes reflective. And I was curious about that when we actually went through this in a committee here a couple of weeks ago. A few years back, you brought code changes forward, and we kind of had a version that we put up on the projector, which showed us this is where it used to be, and this is what it used to say. And then it was, this is where it is now, and this is what it says now. But it included kind of that whole section. And so it was really clearly defined what was changing and how exactly it was changing. This one was a lot more difficult for me to interpret and to understand. And not being someone that's real heavy on code side of things, I really appreciated that the last time around that it was really clear and well defined. So moving forward, maybe that's something that we could kind of implement as a best practice for how we go about these.
Other discussion on the motion to approve? Seeing none, please call a roll.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
Kathy Kirschner,
No.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
Yeah. Yes. Sorry.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Ben Ellenboss,
No.
That passes 5-2 with Ellenboss and Kirschner opposed. Okay, our next public hearing is AB 2021-109. It's a public hearing to review final project performance on a community development block grant for public services and emergency response related to COVID-19 impacts in Whatcom County. Is there any, does the staff have anything for us before we open the hearing? I'll take that as a no.
Councilman.
Go ahead, Mr. Schroeder.
Tyler Schroeder, Deputy Executive. I'm here tonight to answer any questions that may come up, and I believe Greg Winter from the Opportunity Council is as well. This is a Department of Commerce grant that happened early in the COVID relief and in the spring of last year that we were able to use for emergency purposes to get about 54 household assistance to keep them in their houses. It was with Whatcom County, Skagit County, as well as Island County.
Okay. Any questions before we open the hearing, Mr. Donovan?
And then this is nothing critical. I'm really glad we had this opportunity, but so most of the households, or plurality of them, are from San Juan. I don't know what is that because of the way their service providers are working out there? So it's like 10 from Whatcom, 20 from San Juan, 14 from Island, which is great. But like, I would say, why'd San Juan get more than we did?
Yeah, I apologize. I said Skagit earlier. I meant San Juan County. If you see, there's 5 additional in Whatcom County and 5 additional in Island. So at the end, it'll be 15 in Whatcom, 20 in San Juan, and 19 in Island for a total of 54. I don't know, and then unless Greg has the specifics and would be willing to jump on real quick, I don't know how the breakdown happened for this specific grant.
You know, I'm just like good on San Juan. I was just wondering what they were pulling off.
Greg, you have a comment?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, members of the council. Greg Winter, Executive Director of Opportunity Council. So first of all, I just want to thank the county council and the county staff also in particular for all the work over the years in helping to put community development block grant funds to work for our community. It's a pretty, overall 54 households. It's a fairly small program. It's just kind of the idiosyncrasies of the particular households that were served. It's quite possible that, I don't have all the individual household data in front of me. We do have that information in our database, but it could be that on average, the households in San Juan County that were served just simply had lower average rents, or that we served those particular households for fewer months. Under this particular program, we could provide up to 3 months of rental assistance, but not every household needed 3 months of assistance. So, like I said, it's a relatively small program.
And I don't mean to be cross.
The amount of money was equal for each county.
Okay, Councilmember Byrd, I think you were first, and then Councilmember Kirschner.
Yeah, Barry, I do have a couple questions, but my question right now is regarding kind of format and process. In the past public hearings, we've always listened to the public comment first and then ask questions. Are we changing the order?
Actually, I allow questions. I've always allowed questions both prior to the hearing and after. So that's okay. The way I've been doing it.
All right, fair enough then. So then question, Tyler Schroeder, I don't recall seeing this here in recently pop up in front of us. Am I just being forgetful?
It's not being forgetful. It was spring of last year, and a lot of things were coming at us. There was a CDBG grant, and we did it as quickly and as swiftly as we could to get it to Opportunity Council. And there was a lot of other items that were in front of us COVID related. Since then, the council and the administration really haven't focused on it. Opportunity Council has just been carrying it out. This is kind of a closeout public hearing. Department of Commerce asked us to do a public hearing to hear from the constituents of the public if there's any thoughts on how better to do the program or how the program was accomplished.
Okay. With that in mind, is this something maybe we should hold till the next meeting so that we can actually have maybe a presentation or some more information regarding it, so that people know what they're giving comment towards? I don't, for obvious reason, it being so long ago, remember exactly this project, but short of that, I'm not entirely sure kind of what everything was here. What was the process? How were people selected? How much money did individuals get? Any of that information, but it seems like it might be helpful.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just the amount of information was the project report that was attached to the agenda item. It doesn't break it down by individuals or families. It breaks it down by counties and how many households were accomplished, which was the amount of information Commerce had asked us to provide for the public hearing.
Okay, gotcha. And that's just that one page, number 407 in the packet.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kirschner.
I was just going to ask why we're having a public hearing on this, but I think Tyler Schroeder just answered the question. Thanks.
Anything else? Councilmember Byrd.
Yeah. So Tyler, what exactly are we being asked to vote on then tonight? Or is this just going to be public comment at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's just public hearing. There is no action in front of the council.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
This is a public hearing for information only, right, Tyler?
That's correct.
Okay. So at this point, we will invite the public to testify. So do we have any speakers wanting to testify?
Wendy Harris has her hand raised. Go ahead, Wendy. Wendy Harris, would you like to speak during this public hearing? Go ahead, please.
I'm wondering if Wendy and Sin kept their hands up from last time.
Oh,
yeah.
My computer just, the hands keep going up and down randomly. I didn't have my hand up.
Okay. Thanks, Wendy.
So, sorry.
Thank you. There are no other hands raised.
Okay, we will close the public hearing and there's no action required. Now we will move to the open session. This is where community members can speak of anything that's relevant to county business. So we will go ahead and play the intro again one quick time, and then we'll go ahead and open it.
Welcome to the meeting. For instructions on how to join the meeting to speak, please visit whatcomcounty.us/join virtual council. Meeting information, including Zoom meeting link, phone number, webinar or meeting ID, and password are available under the meeting date at the bottom of the page. Members of the public may join the meeting online or by phone. The meeting is broadcast live and recorded. All speakers will have 3 minutes. When you've joined the meeting, please virtually raise your hand to request to speak. To virtually raise your hand online, click the hand icon at the lower area of your screen. To virtually raise your hand by phone, dial *9 on your keypad. Council staff will call on you by the name listed, or if you're joining by phone, by the last 3 digits of the phone number from which you're calling. When called upon to speak, click the microphone icon to unmute, or if joining by phone, wait till you hear a message indicating the host unmuted your phone. Please first state your full name for the record. Staff will announce when your 3-minute speaking time is up. Camera sharing will not be offered at this meeting. Thank you for joining the meeting.
Okay, please call our first speaker.
The first speaker is listed as Sin, followed by Marcus D, and then Trevor Smith. Go ahead, caller, or the attendee listed as Sin. Please state your full name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay. I'm going by Sin just for this. Is this the general comment?
Yes.
Okay, can you restart my time? Because that was me asking a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I am a Whatcom County resident of 28 years. I grew up in the county, and I'm here on behalf of Camp 210 and the housing crisis in all of Whatcom County, but specifically pertaining to Bellingham. We need your help. I'm asking for the money for hotel vouchers for youth specifically. We know that we need 10K to float the youth through till June. This was confirmed from Northwest Youth Services because previously we were relying on COVID funds, and we are working on ways to fundraise, but the county, as we understand, has more funds available to them than other realms. I don't fully understand that, but it's something I'm bringing to you and need your help with. SAPPAL has previously taken interest in buying another hotel, potentially for youth and just shelter in general, which like we have looked at. The Morning Glory is willing to sell theirs for an amount that has been named. Another thing that I'm really frustrated by right now is that Bellingham has made it a point to say that the sweeping and all that has been a matter of public safety, where public health and safety. And there are complaints that like Lisa Anderson specifically voiced that, you know, she's worried about the homeless people damaging the wildlife corridors, yet like they are single-handedly facilitating like poop and pee to be added to those wildlife corridors because they refuse sanitary services. So I'm asking to figure out a way to get sanitary services to these areas so that we do not further damage our environment in the same way that she is arguing, you know? I'm asking for meetings with organizers to discuss public safety requests because I have more, and obviously I'm going to run out of time. I hear everybody saying they care about this issue and they want a better public policy. So like calm down and draft it as opposed to ignoring constituents. I believe we have everything we need within this county resource wise, and as well as just in community with each other, that if we could just stop focusing on the narrative that houseless people are dirty and cause crime and spread feces in the park and gave up on life and made bad choices, which is like, honestly, that's on that person's karma that's saying that. But let's stop focusing on that and stop focusing on fighting with the city about like whether or not people deserve sanitary services in the first place, and like focus on stabilizing that community for now by providing those services so we can get in there and do the real work and create the real solutions that I hear you guys talking about. Affordable housing. I heard what SAPPAL said at the beginning. So I'm asking you, who can I meet with and when can I meet with you to discuss these things that I'm asking you for, because I really need your help. I yield my time.
The next speaker is Marcus D, followed by Trevor Smith. Go ahead, Marcus.
Good evening, esteemed council. Marcus D, council appointed Homeless Strategies Work Group Homeless Advocate, and also I'm glad to be in the leadership of SOS Bellingham Serenity Outreach Services, a new nonprofit. We've put this together in a hurry, but with very strong intent and clear purpose, and it is to try to fill the gaps and provide the needs of these very people that we've been all worrying about and you know, variously even being demonized in the media, etc. It's there's a lot to unpack on it, really, but I think that what we need to do mostly is to look at it with our real eyes. We know that many advocates have come before councils for years, and many of them advocating for these exact people, these very faces, the same faces that many of you volunteered to shelter in the men's shelter in the February of 2019. These same people are still out here. It's we have to do better for them, and there's been some political confusion around the things that went on with the sweep. There's the water is muddied. There's a lot of fear talk. There's a lot of misinformation flying around about this. But in fact, these are the same people. We're in an emergency. We're in a winter emergency. We're not in severe weather right now by some recommendations or some definitions, but in fact, we certainly wouldn't, none of us, I don't think, would want to be sleeping outside on the sidewalk or in a tent anywhere during the weather that we've been having, even last nights, the rains, this, that. We have to do better. We at Serenity Outreach Services would like to pick up where negotiations tended to leave off with the city, but we also want to open up negotiations with the county as well. We want to speak to all of you about the urgency. The urgency of we need to get these tiny houses bought with the money, the emergency money that we have right now. If we fail to do that, then we fail to take advantage of a wonderful plan. We can buy these shelters and own them. Then we can bring the social services. This is going to serve. I mean, you've got people out here who want to help you serve. This is going to serve these people who who have been unserved and unservable. And it's so important that we get them served now. Let's dispense with the misinformation. Let's get together and create a social network that can catch all of these people with wraparound services. SOS Bellingham wants to help. I thank you for your consideration on this, and please put all urgency behind this statement. We need to buy these shelters, guys. We can make a system that works. I appreciate your time.
The next speaker is Trevor Smith, followed by Doug Yoshi, then Melissa Weisner. Go ahead, Trevor Smith, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Council. I'm here to talk about the Cherry Point Stakeholders Group, and I just wanted to say thank you to the Council for giving us the time and the space to work on this language and try and present you guys with a completed, well thought out document. I know we've been working on this. It's taken a lot of time. Just wanted to say that I really appreciate you guys giving us the time and the space to do this. So thank you very much.
The next speaker is Doug Yoshi. Go ahead, please, and state your full name for the record. 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Doug Ravel. My nickname is Yoshi. A lot of people know me as Yoshi. Thank you, members of the audience and staff, members of the County Council, and Mr. County Executive. I appreciate you all being here. My concern is the polarization that's happening in politics. It's happening all over our country, and it's happening in Whatcom County. And I'm wondering what we can do to facilitate a conversation between the left and the right, where people are able to actually hear each other. Right now, there's a lot of screaming happening. And the right isn't listening to the left, and the left is not listening to the right. And basically, there's violence happening also. There's violence happening on both, coming from both the left and the right. And that's a concern to me. My experience of truth is it's on both sides. There's truth on the left, and there's truth on the right. And we really have to work to listen to each other, to genuinely listen to each other's truth. That the left has to listen to the right and say, you know, there is some truth there that I need to listen to and maybe we can work on. And the right needs to listen to the left and say, you know, there is some truth on the left and we need to work on some stuff there. And it involves a matter of openness, a willingness to be open instead of screaming at each other. There's this idea that the right has to win or the left has to win and we can't, the other party is the enemy. And that's absolutely wrong, just totally wrong. It's not about winning. It's about finding truth. It's about finding solutions. Now, my experience of what I call God is God doesn't favor either side. God is not on the right exclusively, and God is not on the left exclusively. That God loves all people, both the right and the left. And in order to move us forward as a county and as a nation, and I believe as a world, we need to be willing to listen to truths that are outside of our comfort zone and say, you know, that actually is true. I didn't want to admit that, but I believe that is true. I think if we can do that, that we'll start finding that we have a whole lot more in common that we can work on together. I call it heart voice to heart voice. That we can listen to each other's hearts, the truth that comes from each other's hearts, and move the county and the nation and the world forward towards a much better and a much more peaceful world. I thank you all for your attention, and I wish you all a pleasant evening. Thank you.
The next speaker is Melissa Weisner, followed by Defund BPD. Go ahead, Melissa. Please state your full name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Legal name Melissa Gregg, maiden name Melissa Weisner, returning soon. So yeah, so I'm just gonna jump right on behind Marcus here and let you guys know that I should have put an email in each of your boxes, a letter of intent from Serenity Outreach Services to facilitate a meeting between us and the county and the city so that we can start working on this housing crisis and getting some shelters going on. And it sounds like, Sab Paul, sounds like you got some good ideas going on there. I'm liking what I'm hearing. So we would really like to get in on that and start helping get some people into some shelter. Can't keep chasing them around like this. Can't keep having them, you know, pooping in the streams. They need to be stable. They need to be cared for. They need to have a place where they can be and then be stable to get their services and get the help that they need. You can't deliver services to somebody when you're chasing them through the woods in the middle of the night. That's not, trust me, I've done it. It doesn't work that way. So housing for stability and then wraparound services to keep them stable. It's very important. It's very necessary. It's very needed. I've been watching it over and over and over again this last year, as you all know, and we have a really, you know, we have a black stain on our record here with that militarized action. And I really think that we can turn another cheek here and show a better side of Bellingham than what the nation is looking at right now. And as SOS, we'd really like to help you guys with that. So get a hold of us as soon as you can. We are still in the middle of winter. It is February and my phone says it's going to get cold again. The depot was a great success, worked out great, but we need more, and we need to not have to wait till the last second to get some warmth and some caring into these people and get their lives turned around and get them off of our streets and out of our ditches and out of our woods and into some stability and into some place that's, you know, good, safe, stable, and clean, and COVID safe, which would be individual housing, not congregate flop houses. Thank you so much. Reach out. Have a great day.
The next speaker is Defund BPD. Go ahead. Please state your full name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
This is Rosa Pavlichenko. I would like to say, first of all, that the amount of money that it costs for the fascist sweep that y'all did, the illegal eviction that y'all did, would have purchased dozens of shelters. Now, on to demand number 1, amnesty, drop all the charges relating to J20 and halt the 27 ongoing investigations and targeting of protesters. It is unjust that BPD is using their resources to endanger the lives of protesters through racist targeting of our community members. They are showing a gross display of power. All of those violently arrested on J20 were done so for defending their community from illegal eviction. All charges and investigations must be dropped. BPD lied and stated the residents at camp had left willingly and that protesters stayed to cause violence. This is untrue. Protesters slowed down police forces so residents could pack their belongings with time. BPD and COB have used their intentional verbiage of outside agitators to isolate members of our community and ignore the validity of our demands. Historically, the term has been used by white supremacists and segregationists to justify their violent actions. Demand number 2, permanent no barrier housing for all. The COB, City of Bellingham, has resources necessary to house every individual. The spending of police proves this. Housing is a human right. The COB continuously characterizes Camp 210 as a public safety hazard, using this as a justification to displace. If the city cared about the health of its residents, they would house everyone. Housing is necessary to properly socially distance and quarantine, as well as live comfortably and safely. City officials have gaslit those who emailed, commented, called since May 2020 with regards to housing crisis. Houseless people know the solution, so why don't paid city officials Everybody, regardless of who they are, deserves housing. Housing is an intentional, housing is a human right. Therefore, it cannot be conditional. Nonprofits continuously deny service to those criminalized and those with mental health problems and substance abuse problems. There needs to be an alternative that provides resources for everyone. Demand number 3, permanent ban on encampment sweeps and evictions. While it is unacceptable that the city of Bellingham has evicted people in the middle of winter during a pandemic, encampment sweeps are unjust to begin with. They simply displace our most targeted, offer no solutions, and must be banned permanently. J28 sweep violated CDC regulations, which states do not clear encampments during the community spread of C-19. This can increase the potential for disease spread. The militarization shown on J20 shows the extent to which the city of Bellingham will go to target houseless people. Bellingham Police Department, Washington Sheriff's Office, SWAT, Border Patrol, Public Works, all displaced people with nowhere to go. The city of Bellingham already has a budget for $200,000 allocated for sweeping camps. On J28,
Thank you for your
Washington
comments. Your
State
time is
Patrol
up.
only spent $53,000 on personnel that could have been spent.
The next speaker is listed as Kai. Go ahead, please state your full name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Kai, and I was wondering, can I screen share?
No, we're not offering that for commenters.
Okay, all right, start my clock.
You're welcome to email the council inbox. It's council@whatcom.co. I'm sorry, you have the email for, it's council at, I'm blanking now. But you can email the council, and if you need that information, let me know.
That does not count toward the time.
All right, well, you can start the clock. My name is Kai, and I'm a resident of Bellingham. I'm speaking tonight about housing and about Camp 210. I'm a volunteer, and I'm not a representative of them. I understand many of you may say, what do we as a county have to do with the city? From my understanding, the county has an obligation for a lot of the housing, collaboration, and public health response that includes the city. 2, additionally, the executive has supported the mayor's statement and provided his own statement on ending the Camp 210 at City Hall. 3, additionally, the Whatcom sheriff were present in addition to the many Washington law enforcement. Relatedly, what is the cost of it? Can you share that? I understand there were discussions about pallet shelters. Where was that at? Will this county denounce the sweep that happened on Camp 210? In responding to Satpal's statement, there was talks about people would just go to base camp. The day after the sweep was enacted, 9 people went to base camp. The rest of them were scattered, and many of them went to Jerry Fields. There is talk about these outside agitators, but where is the proof about this? Where is the intel? I agree with a lot of what Defund BPD Rosa said in regards to this. I agree with what Sin said previously about motel funds and about just the, it doesn't make sense to talk about poop in the yards when there's no toilets being provided. It just doesn't make sense. I understand the talks about working with the right and left, but then again, like there's a coalition of people of faith, racial justice groups, deaf and disability groups that are all saying we need to stop the sweeps. I don't think that we should work together with white supremacists and racists. I think we should move forward something that helps our community. Additionally, I want to share some of the specific demands of the Bellingham occupied protests at Camp 210. These include dropping all the charges relating to J28 and halting the ongoing investigations and targeting of protesters. And I know that the county can denounce it. Satpal, you can, or any of the people here, and I'm happy to have individual conversations with the county council members. I've commented, I've emailed you many times, called you. Demand 2, to demand permanent no barrier housing for all. It's a human right. Additionally, we know that there's funding. We know that there are sites. We need to make sure that, obviously this is a pandemic. We are in an emergency. We need housing now. And additionally, there should be a permanent ban on encampment and sweeps. And this should apply to the county and also the city. The city of Bellingham, we know already spent 200,000. So thank you very much. And I yield the rest of my time.
The next speaker is Louis Burrell. Go ahead, please. State your full name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Louis Burrell, and I'm reaching out to give this comment partially on behalf of SOS Bellingham and the citizens of Whatcom County. I'm speaking to the council today to request that SOS and the other organizations and community activists that are on the ground are given the opportunity to work with both the county and the city of Bellingham. As you guys know, Camp 210 is still going on at Jerry Fields. SOS, Bellingham Collective, and a few other organizations are prepared. They already have been, and they continue to care for the homeless population that are out there. It's actually been citizens that have been out in the rain, the wet, the cold, the snow, providing clothing, providing warmth, providing food for these people. The people in which that I'm speaking of are largely a population that either can't go and utilize other services like base camp, or there is something in their past that has happened that prevents them from accessing those services. One of the points that I wanted to make was that base camp has consistently remained at about 70% capacity. I think it was fantastic that Parks and Rec and other people step up to help staff the warming center, and I think it was a success by far and large. But now that the warming center has closed, we're right back to where we were before that period. Base camp is, again, still not full. The drop-in center, for all intents and purposes, has not been filled. And we still have hundreds of homeless neighbors, people in our community, people that are loved, that have families, that are still not getting the services they need. So it's my suggestion and my request that if we can get social workers and tiny homes and potentially nurses and other wraparound services together, and we can get these people in a centralized area and do it with the city and do it with the county, I think it's going to be beneficial for everyone. At this point, I think, yes, winter is still here. And I know that some people feel because the weather is not as cold that we have time on our hands to deliberate and negotiate. But I think everyone should keep in mind, again, we don't know when people will lose their lives for living out in the cold and the wet and the rain and the snow. So if we can get the county and the city to work together, whether it be with Serenity Outreach Services or potentially other partners or community networks, that is the best chance that we have to save these people's lives. I yield the rest of my time.
The next speaker is listed as Sin. We've already heard from this attendee, but I'm going to go ahead and unmute you to see if there's someone else on your line that would like to speak during the comment period. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and we only allow speakers to speak once for 3 minutes. Is this a different speaker or the same speaker?
This is a different speaker.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I'm going by Carol, and I am also going to follow up in with comment about what Sin was talking about Camp 210. And I'm wondering why the city, or I mean the county, is not getting more involved with the issue that is going on in Bellingham.
If anybody else would like to speak during the public open session, please raise your hand virtually by clicking the hand icon or dialing *9 if you're joining by phone. The next speaker is listed as Anon. Please state your full name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Ben Still. Hello?
Oh, thank you. I just want to ask why shelters are a viable option if they are known, if the precedent is known that they spread disease. If you take a look at these shelters, you wouldn't even consider them housing when you sit in your warm home. They are literally like sleeping beds right next to each other. So like this talk about disease spreading is kind of redundant at this point. Haven't seen any of you down there helping folks out. And this talk of like negotiation with people who have been doing the work better than you guys have for free is ridiculous at this point. The charges against the people that were holding the line should be dropped, and you guys know why it should be dropped. If it wasn't for the people holding the line, the folks that were living at City Hall wouldn't have had a chance to grab their things without guns having been pointed at their face. So my question is, why isn't the city saying something about that? Are you guys okay with snipers being pointed at activists? Are you okay with the police targeting Black and Indigenous people of color? Because you guys were talking about Black history and patting yourselves on the back the other day for having a Latin individual come into your space and be able to translate all things for you, but your facilities look exactly like ICE facilities. So I don't want to hear about how much work has been done towards, anti-racism when you all are active accomplices in promoting white supremacy. You guys don't even want to look at that. So why are you focused on criminalizing individuals who want to help the community? You each could all say something that denounces this, but instead you choose to sit there in your comfort. And you are all white. I'm just pointing that out. Like, what have you guys done towards Black and Indigenous liberation? Absolutely fucking nothing. Not since May. And everyone has a right
That's
to be
the end.
angry.
The next speaker is listed as Tess. Go ahead, Tess. Please state your full name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi there, my name is Tess O'Reilly. I have lived on the ancestral homeland of the indigenous peoples of the Coast Salish Sea Basin all my life. I moved to Whatcom County, the ancestral homeland to the Lummi and Nooksack tribes 8 years ago. I'd like to use my time to express solidarity to those that also express serious concern for the unhoused neighbors in our community. I don't think it's any surprise to anyone here that every person needs food, water, warmth, rest, safety, or security to even begin making structural changes that increase their longevity and overall well-being. And so these are human rights. Every person is owed to this. But yet it's something that people in your community are fighting and dying for. Camp 210 is not the only encampment in the county you serve, and this is not just Bellingham's issues. Sweeps are endorsed all throughout your county, and you have a responsibility to the people that you serve. I heard Satpal ask for an effort from county council. I'd also love to see some effort. I think it would be wise to listen to the people that are doing the very real grassroots work that are saving those that fall between the cracks. So I'm just going to emphasize the demands here. 1, amnesty for all charges and investigations against those that were protecting people's homes on the unlawful sweep during a pandemic in the middle of winter. 2, no barrier housing for all. 3, permanent ban on all encampment sweeps and evictions. This has been urged by the CDC. I really don't know what else I can say about that. It's pretty disgusting that this even felt like an option in the first place. I yield the remaining time.
If anyone else would like to speak during open session, please raise your hand virtually by clicking the hand icon. The next speaker is Natalie Chavez. Please state your full name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Natalie Chavez, and I would like to say a few things regarding SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19. First off, on the website at www.fda.gov, Page 39, in regards to the CDC 2019 novel coronavirus, it states no quantified virus isolates of the 2019 COVID are currently available. The virus has not been isolated. Second of all, I would like to mention that at the Center for Health Security.org website, it talks about the event 201 that took place October 2019. It was a simulated pandemic exercise organized by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Johns Hopkins, and the World Economic Forum, which included many other representatives from organizations. They used a coronavirus in that simulated pandemic exercise. I would also am hoping that you'll take a look at the statistics in Whatcom County with the COVID deaths. I think there's approximately 77 COVID deaths now. There are some years in the normal influenza pneumonia season of between 35 and 40 deaths in a given year. So I'm thinking that for last season and this season, we would have maybe about 80 deaths that, well, these are listed as COVID deaths. However, somehow the flu and pneumonia somehow got cured. We're also seeing nationally that the statistics are skewed with heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer, hospice, and other statistics. So people are assuming that those deaths also were listed as for COVID-19 deaths. So it seems like the total mortality rate nationwide, but also in Whatcom County, has statistics that are a bit off. And I hope that the Whatcom County Council will look at the statistics for the total mortality rate in Whatcom County for all reasons to see what that is for 2020 and to look at how many flu, pneumonia, and deaths for all other reasons so that we can really look at this data. We really need to see this. I'm also hoping that you will look at some websites, especially COVID-19criticalcare.com, which talks about ivermectin. Dr. Pierre Corey gave testimony at the Senate, and there's a lot of published medical evidence demonstrating ivermectin's potent ability to inhibit the SARS-CoV-2 replication. And so I'm also hoping that you'll look at the World Doctors Alliance.com and also
The next speaker is listed as Wendy Harris. Go ahead, Wendy. Okay, the hand went down, so I don't believe there are any other speakers. Oh, nope, there are no more speakers.
Okay, we will close the open session then.
Actually, a hand just went up.
Okay.
If you would allow it.
Yeah, we'll allow it.
Sarah Muller, go ahead, please state your full name for the record.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry. My name is Sarah Mahler.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Right. Yes. Sorry. This is totally unscripted, not prepared. I just wanted to respond. Just what I heard the last lady just speak about it. I'm just kind of flabbergasted by it. I don't even know what to say, but I kind of strongly advise not to listen to anything she says. As far as I don't have statistics on anything, but just common sense says the reason the flu has probably gone down is because a lot of us are wearing masks now, which is a great thing because I do work in retail. And every day I do have to deal with people not wearing masks. And that's been a real problem. And I'm sorry, I just had to say that I just was really kind of pretty disgusted by what she said. And yeah, I yield my time. Thank you. Bye.
No other hands raised at this time.
Okay, we will close the open session. And we will move to finance and the consent agenda, and Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Whatcom County Finance and Administrative Services Committee met this morning and we considered several items. The first items were items 1 through 6 from the consent agenda. These all received a vote of 3-0, and I so move.
Okay, we have that motion. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Fred Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Ben Ellenboss,
No.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
Kathy Kirschner,
Yes.
That passes 6-1 with Councilmember Ellenboss opposed.
Mr. Chair, the next item was AB 2021-092, ordinance amending the 2021 Whatcom County budget, request number 3 in the amount of $7,854,280. This received a vote of 3-0, and I so move.
Discussion. Councilmember Ellenboss.
One more time on the number. What number is it?
It was about what you make in a week, $7,854,280.
No, the AB
Give me
number.
the agenda bill.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, okay, you don't make this in a week. AB 2021-092.
Discussion.
Okay.
Okay, seeing none, let's vote.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Ben Ellenboss,
Yes.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
Kathy Kirschner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Red,
Can't
you're
hear Red.
muted.
You're talking, we're not hearing.
Did they make you happy? AB 2021-124, request authorization the county executive to enter into a contract between Whatcom County and Opportunity Council to administer rental and utility assistance to eligible recipients in the amount of $6,807,911. This received a vote of 2-1, and I so move.
Okay, discussion on the motion. Councilmember Donovan.
Yeah, I'll just say again, this is a fantastic opportunity that we got these funds, and it's going to be a crisis when they run out. So I'm very much supportive of this.
Other discussion?
Mr. Bird has.
Councilmember Ellenboss.
I agree with what Councilmember Donovan just said.
Councilmember Byrd.
Thanks. When this came up 2 weeks ago, I had asked whether or not this could be used for utility assistance, and specifically the utility assistance program that I brought forward last November, December. It sounded like at the time that was not the case. But in talking to Ann Deacon this morning, it actually is the case, and it can be used for that. It can also be used for everything up to and including internet providers. So I'd like to make sure that this includes that program and see how we can actually possibly integrate into this somehow. Some portion of this is dedicated to the utilities and the water and sewer districts out there. Thoughts from my fellow council members?
Councilmember Kirschner.
I think that's a great idea, Councilmember Byrd. I'm wondering if the Opportunity Council is preparing to set up to do just that. I'm not sure that, I know that they do provide some assistance with utilities now. So is Greg still on the call, or somebody from the health department? Is that part of the scope of work for this contract? Is that the Opportunity Council will help people with their utilities? Or maybe Tyler, you had another thought about how that would work.
Council members, I don't think Greg is on the call, and unfortunately Ann isn't with us tonight. But that is an allowable expense, and certainly if people request it, we'll make sure that those funds are used in that way.
Councilmember Byrd?
Thank you. Erica, is there a process that's in place already that we can take advantage of for that? Or how can we go about that? We've already made contact with, from last November, the different water associations and districts, well, excuse me, the districts. So they've already kind of gone through their numbers and looked at who needs help. I talked to a few more today and double checked, and they do have the ability to separate between renters and homeowners, because renters can qualify, whereas homeowners cannot. But if you're a renter, you'd be able to basically get that covered, and we could pay directly to the sewer district to cover that bill. So it would help the district cover their shortfall while helping these homeowners that are past due 90 to 120 days on their water. And if everyone recalls, at that time, a couple months ago, there was well over 2,000 households, not individuals, that were over 90 days late on their water bills. So, and that wasn't inclusive of all the districts, just a handful. So what is the process, or how do we go about that to make sure that people know about it and actually get prioritized and can
I don't have that level of detail for you tonight, but we can certainly follow up tomorrow.
Okay.
Mr. Donovan?
I might have misheard it. I know there's a lot of households that are in that situation, but did you say 200 or 200,000? I misheard that.
2,000.
2,000. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I also fully support the program, and just want to do another shout out for the health department staff who made this thing happen so quickly.
Any further discussion on the motion? Yes, Mr. Byrd?
Yeah. I want to approve this, but I'm hesitant only in that concept. I don't want this 100% to go to the just rental assistance. We've already spent a few $1 million here last year. In talking to Ann today, it also sounds like we're expecting somewhere between $600,000 and $700,000 per month in an additional rental assistance program funding coming from the state here in the near future for the rest of the year. So
that is this funding source. So this broken down over the course of March through December is about $600,000 to $700,000 a month that we need to spend. So that's what she was referring to.
Okay, it had sounded like there was a separate program that we were also going to get funding for this, but you think that they're the same? All right. So if we approve the contract today, we don't necessarily have the ability to change any of the terms after the fact, right?
Well, the terms include both rental assistance and utility assistance.
Is there a priority list, or is there a scoring mechanism or some way that they're going to decide who gets what? Or
they will respond based on the requests. So if the requests are for just rental assistance, they will provide that. If the requests are for both, then that is an option as well. So it's really based on the needs of the individuals that make those requests.
Okay. So if they qualify, will it be first come, first served then, or?
I'd have to get back to you on the process by which they'll determine that.
To do.
I may just add, there is a income qualifications included in there too. Not that just anybody can do that. There is a some sort of AMI or number of family members and what the utility bills are. So there is a set criteria provided by the state how these funds to be used. So if people qualify for that, then they are eligible.
Any further discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Tyler Bird,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Van Ellenboss,
Yes.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
Kathy Kirschner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes. That passes 7-0.
The next item was AB 2021-125, request authorization for the county executive to enter into a contract between Whatcom County and DH to implement a COVID-19 social marketing campaign, plan and messaging platform in the amount of $200,000. This received a vote of 2-1, and I so move.
Discussion on the motion. Councilmember Ellenboss.
I'd prefer we spend the money on something tangible like rental assistance or utility assistance. I don't support this.
Councilmember Kirschner.
I was not going to support this either tonight until we had our COVID update this afternoon from Dr. Stern and Erica Lautenbach. And the news that we've got the variant now in our county. I'm in the camp that wants to think we're on the downside of COVID. I want to believe we're getting better and we're going to be done with it soon. And so I was going to say, do we really need this marketing campaign? But I think that I changed my mind after hearing that the variant is in our county. And I'm going to go ahead and support this because whatever we can do to help the largest growing or the largest population of positive cases kind of curtail behaviors, I think is a good thing. So that's where I'm at.
Mr. Brown.
So Ms. Kirschner raises a good point. Ms. Lautenbach, can you speak to the difference in the R naught between the original variant and the new variant? The degree of contagiousness.
There is evidence that the B117 variant that has been identified in Whatcom County in the last day is more contagious. I couldn't give you the R naught. Unfortunately, Dr. Stern's not here with us tonight, who gave you a very full explanation earlier today. However, we do know that there is evidence that it's more contagious, more transmissible than what we've been working with in the past. Right. And to Councilmember Kirschner's point, this age group will be the very last to receive the vaccine, which depending on supply could be many, many months from now. So continuing to keep those behaviors to protect others will be critical for these next several months.
Other discussion?
If I may, I'd just like to add, Ms. Lautenbach, you raise a very interesting point that this is the group that's going to be the last to get the vaccine, is probably statistically the least likely to be heavily impacted if they get the disease. I hope part of our message is a thank you. Because they're going to have to, we're asking them to step up, and we should thank them for doing so.
Yeah, thanks for saying that.
Any other discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Van Ellenboss,
No to
Carol
propagate.
Frazee,
Yes.
Kathy Kirschner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
No.
That passes 5-2 with Bird and Ellenboss opposed.
Mr. Chair, there is nothing else from finance.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. From the committee of the whole, we had AB 2021-116, and that was a resolution docketing comprehensive plan and development regulation amendments. We had discussion on this today, and we have a revised Exhibit A for you to see that put the density level in there. And the vote was unanimous to recommend this to the council tonight, and so I move.
You need a second?
I believe so.
Oh, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Councilmember Donovan.
So I will support docketing this stuff, but I want to get this under some conditions here that I think we've sorted out. The TDR receiving area proposal, which is the second one on Exhibit A, is going to be the first time that the council or the county will have moved development rights into a rural area. And we did get a commitment that would be only three. It'd be three transferring from the Lake Whatcom area to what I see as another fairly critical area. So I don't know how that's going to come through the Planning Commission and when it goes through the process. But I just want, that is an awkward thing to be docketing because it's the first time the county will be doing this and transferring development rights into a rural area. But we did get a limit on that. The battery energy storage thing, I don't think we have a lot of information on. And again, this will go through the process. This will all come back to council. And then maybe the most interesting thing here in terms of what we're doing is the docketing at Bellingham UGA expansion and that wrapped up with the South Kitech proposal. So I checked with the city's planning director and we had city planning staff in here. They did not oppose this. I think with the discussion we had earlier today, the buildable lands analysis that we're doing will be actually what's driving whether this UGA change goes and whether there will be an annexation. That won't be till June 2022. So it'll be on the docket. It might be starting this process. The city's not supporting or opposing this process. So as reluctant as I might be to normally support something like that, getting no opposition from the city and understanding that is contingent on the buildable lands analysis and they won't revisit till that, I'm going to be supporting these.
Mr. Brown?
Just a little correction, and you may not be aware of this, Mr. Donovan, is we have done transfer of development rights in the rural area before. The problem is we allowed for the transfer, the creation of the development rights in the Lake Whatcom watershed as a sending area, and we didn't provide a receiving area. And those development rights ultimately ended up going up to a tax auction and were extinguished because there was nothing you could do with them. So we've allowed people to give up their development rights in the past. We just haven't allowed them to use them somewhere else.
Councilmember Byrd, and then back to Mr. Donovan.
Thank you. The other thing I want to make clear is that we're not transferring development rights into the rural areas. That's not the situation here. It's transferring from one part of our rural county to another part. So it's not like we're taking it out of a city in an urban area and putting those credits into a rural county location. It's just moving it from one place, which happens to be a watershed that we're spending millions of dollars to protect right now, out of that watershed, so that houses that would have been built there can no longer be built there, but now they can be built someplace else where it's more environmentally friendly. In addition, the reason that we can docket the UGA from the county's perspective is because it requires both participation from the county as well as the city in order to do that. And so if they initiated it, it would have to come to us as well. If we initiate it, it has to go to them. It's a partnership and a two-pronged thing. So in this case, we're initiating it. And I think it falls hand in hand with what Executive Sadu was speaking about earlier with affordable housing and starting to plan for those kind of things and look at what we can do. And this is absolutely one of them. So I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Councilmember Donovan?
I don't need to challenge these things right now, but I will review what we heard this afternoon. But my memory of it is Matt Ammett said it is a precedent to be transferring development rights into an urban area. Our attorney, Ms. Frakes, said that there are potentially GMA issues here. We have a limit on how many, which wasn't the original proposal, but we now have limits on this will just be 3 development rights, upzoning this area in the urban, I'm sorry, in the rural zone. So we're docketing it if it comes through, and I will review, but I believe that's what I heard from both Ms. Frakes and from our PDS staff.
Mr. Brown?
I respect Ms. Frakes' concerns, and we certainly do have a history of being a county that's out of compliance with the GMA. I think a couple of years ago, we oversaw the settlement of 23 violations of the GMA. These were all fights that we took, which were not worth the fight in the end. But I think this is a fight that is worth it, because we can take a development right, provided it has certain rules, and those rules to me would be, if you take a development right out of a more environmentally sensitive area and you transfer it within the unincorporated area to a less environmentally sensitive area where there's no net increase in the development capacity of the county, I think it's just a win for everybody. And I think it's a case that should be heard in front of the GMA.
Any further discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Ben Ellenboss,
Yes.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
Kathy Kirschner,
Yes.
Fred Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
No, Rudd tucked me out of it.
Okay, that passes 6-1 with Councilmember Donovan talked out of it. Next up is AB 2021-117. It's a letter to the Department of Health requesting information on COVID-19 vaccine rollout. The only action to be taken from this item is to approve that the letter with clerk note be added to the chair's correspondence file and the agenda bill file. So Dana, could you just give us a quick English version of what that means?
Sure. So this is the letter that the council sent out probably 3 weeks ago. And there was a sentence in there that we altered a little bit when we sent it to the state, and it ended up not making sense once you took that language out. So if you'll notice, I'm not sure if you're on Legistar or not, but it just shows there's a copy of the letter with my handwritten note, which is how we correct things that have been approved to send. And it shows the strange language that ended up actually being voted on by the council. But the council had mentioned that they wanted to make sure that it was noted in the file what the actual vote of the council was on that letter, what the language was voted on.
So our action tonight is merely to confirm that clerk's note, correct? And enter
That's
it
correct.
And then
The letter's already been sent. We just need to, I would like the council to approve adding it to the file online and in the office.
Okay, do we have a motion? Councilmember Donovan.
Yeah, I moved to approve. I was the person who did the bad edit, and I appreciate staff for getting the letter out and correcting the record and not resending it.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Brown?
Todd's talking me out of it.
Councilmember Donovan?
Yeah, I think we all know what we wanted here, but the thing that's on Legistar, because we had it up there before where I saw the handwritten corrections, and I'm not, maybe I'm on the wrong agenda item here. But if this is AB 2021-117, is that where we're at? Yes. So the one that we've seen before that Dana had the hand corrections on, I'm not seeing that popping up on Legistar. Unless there's something else I got to click on.
I'm looking for it, Todd. Just
Yeah.
give me a second.
Last time I edited anything.
I think now Todd talked me out of it.
It's been a couple meetings. I want to just make sure we get the right thing. And then we saw it before. I know Dana sent it to us with the hand edited thing in our previous meeting, and then we forgot to amend the record. And I know what we're talking about, but I'm just not seeing it there in Legistar. I want to put this to rest.
Maybe I didn't put it up there. I can do it right now.
It was there before. I mean, in our previous meeting, and we just didn't vote on it.
Okay, so it will be going there. Yes, Mrs. Kirshner.
I think this is the wrong letter. I think the letter we were referring to was the one about reopening, the one that had the typos in it. Is that what we're looking at?
That's the one that Dana has previously hand corrected.
Yeah.
The awkward sentence. So the one that is in this agenda item, Bill, is actually the one that we didn't.
The vaccine one, right?
This is the vaccine letter. Yeah, we need the other
We didn't
letter.
have any problem with.
This was one tricky letter.
Barry, if you would like to go on with the agenda, and I'll find the letter and get it posted to the correct file.
Sure, we will. We will hold that item and we will go to executive appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. AB 2021-123 is a request confirmation of the county executive's appointment of Gina Bring, Reagan Miller, Caroline Appleby, and Artemis Langford to the Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board. Do we have a motion to confirm?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to confirm. Discussion. Councilmember Ellenboss.
I always like to see if anybody's in attendance and would like to address us about their appointment.
Is there anyone present from these list of appointees on the call that could like to speak? That's probably a no. Okay. Any further discussion? Councilmember Kirshner.
Yeah, I just want to say that as the council representative to the Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board, I think that we've been getting some excellent candidates, and I want to thank them and Jessica and Sat Pulse for recommending them. I'm happy to confirm all of these folks.
Any further discussion? Okay, please call the roll. Can't hear you, Kathy.
Kathy Kirshner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Ben Ellenboss,
Yes.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
That passes unanimously. Okay, that's the end of our normal agenda. Can we go back? Are we ready, Dana?
Just uploading the letter right now.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the introduction item.
Second.
Okay, we have an out of order motion, but that's okay. We'll accept it. And a second for the ordinance regarding temporary installation of stop signs on Marshall Hill Road. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Fred Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Ben Ellenboss,
Yes.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
Kathy Kirschner,
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Should we do committee reports first, Dana? Committee reports, natural resources. Oh, we'll start with the executive session this morning. We had a briefing from Human Resources on labor negotiations. There was no decisions made. It was information only. So natural resources.
Natural Resources had 2 presentations, no action on them. We had a report from the Parks Department about their 2022 Comprehensive Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan. They're going to come back to us in November after that's finalized through some public process. The second presentation from Chris Elder and Ellen Murphy was the Whatcom County 2017 Greenhouse Gas Inventory, and our Legistar packet had the report from Cascadia Consultant Group who did that, and Ellen kind of distilled that down into some user-friendly pie charts. Those are going to be some of the baseline data that the Climate Impact Advisory Committee is going to come back to us with about what we can do as a county to kind of lower the trajectories we have in increasing greenhouse gas emissions. It was a really good presentation, but no action. That's what we did.
Okay, thanks. Finance, was there any other items?
Yes, we had I think, Mr. Chair, we had a presentation from the Committee on Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence. A very difficult subject that's, we are fortunate to have a very comprehensive and qualified list of commission members. And I think the presentation will be posted on Legistar if people are interested.
Okay, then we had a criminal justice and public safety committee meeting. We had Prosecutor Ritchie went over his office's kind of an update, gave us it was an interesting update as there's hasn't been any criminal trials at all for almost a year, and it obviously has driven the caseload way up. He did announce though the lead program, law enforcement assisted diversion. It's up and running. They have 35 folks enrolled. It seems like Eric said he didn't have hard data, but he thought from what he's seen, there has been an uptick in crime during COVID. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that. Anyway, that was what was from that meeting. Then we had Planning and Development Services, Councilmember Ellenboss.
Yeah, so the first item we had was a report from the Planning and Development Services Department. Mark Personius gave a kind of a rundown on what they've been doing for the last year. And I guess in my opinion, the highlight of that report would probably be the rollout of their all online submission system. I think that's probably a good thing for the long haul. And then the second item was a discussion about the building code updates from the 2015 version to the 2018 version. And I think the summary on that, and maybe Councilmember Brown or Councilmember Donovan can help me with the exact numbers because I don't have them in front of me right now, but The cost difference between the 2015 building code and the 2018 building code on, I think he gave us the price on a house that would be between 1,800 and 2,100 square feet, was an increase of $6,800 to meet the new energy code. So
6,807.
how much, Todd?
6,000. I think it was 6,807. But
okay, yeah, I was way off. Sorry. Yeah. So if you wonder why I said I didn't want to vote for it, because it adds costs, there you go. Because those are real costs, and you know, like I have a heat pump in my house, and it saves me money in the long run. But I had the money up front to put it in, so you know, if I was somebody who didn't have the money and I just needed a house, maybe I'd, you know, feel different about it. But I think that we can achieve some of the goals that they're looking for in a better way than mandating them over time. So I don't think it's a good thing, but.
Councilmember Donovan.
yeah, whether it's a good thing or bad thing, I appreciate PDS kind of putting that spreadsheet together so people know what the added cost of the building code is. And I think we decided, or we nudged them to get that information to the public.
And then our last committee that met today was Committee of the Whole. We had 2 items. The first was an update on COVID-19. We've, as reported earlier, we have 1 case detected of the UK variant in Whatcom County now. We also received, I don't have the numbers, the papers have piled up past my able to recognize them, but a couple thousand vaccines, first vaccine doses have been delivered this week. We are going to be standing up a fairly substantial vaccination site out at Bellingham Tech School with partners from Peace Health and Family Care Network and others. So that should be something that gets a lot of folks through. That she's estimating about 5,000 folks a week can get vaccinated through that. Our other item was on the docketed items that we voted on tonight. So we've had a thorough discussion on that. I guess, Dana, can we go back to that item now?
Yes, the letter is posted now on Insight.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve? Councilmember Donovan.
I move to approve 2021-117 with the amended sentence to show my fragmented edit.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Carol Frazee,
Yes.
Kathy Kirschner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Yes.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Bird,
Abstain.
Todd Donovan,
Yes.
Ben Ellenboss,
Yes.
That passes 6-0 with Councilmember Byrd abstaining. Okay, fast forward. We are at other items. Are there any other items of business for us tonight? Councilmember Byrd.
Yeah. Okay. 2 things. One, I'm curious, why do we not let people share their video or a screen if they wanted to share something with us during their 3 minutes comment? I think personally, it's nice to see people if they are up for it. Not that it's required, but as far as sharing a screen, I think that's helpful too, because if they want to illustrate something, it can help them do so in a way that it's not sending it to us where only we see it, but everyone else watching the video and taking part in the meeting has an opportunity to see it as well as I think it's just helpful from that standpoint. I'm not sure what the downfall is for it. So can I make a motion? I'll move that we allow that.
Let's
in the
ask
future.
staff, because this came from staff. So let's ask
Okay.
them what the downfalls might be, because I don't know any either, Tyler, to be honest with you. So
This is Kathy Halka. I'll take a try at answering your question, and Dana, maybe you can jump in, and possibly Karen Frakes. But when we initially began doing online remote meetings, we had talked about whether or not we wanted to do camera sharing. And I believe it was last summer that we actually had a meeting with camera sharing. And one of the things that we felt was a challenge was to manage that, because we have so few staff members managing so many things all at once during each of these online meetings. And opening up the camera is another thing that we need to watch and be cautious of making sure that it's appropriate. That's kind of was our approach at first, that having the camera was just another thing to manage. And if someone was sharing something that was not appropriate, we would have to react quickly, and we have limited staff on these meetings. I don't know if Dana wants to add anything else.
I think that another piece of that was we found with the Cherry Point public hearing that we had where we did offer camera sharing was the amount of extra time it took for staff to turn a person's camera on and turn them back off and then get to the next person. It was just like Kathy said, a lot to manage. Even though we have 3 staff members on these meetings, each of us are doing a different, we're playing a different role. And so it's just a lot for us to manage if we add that extra element.
And I could just add that when someone shares their camera, they have to be promoted to a panelist. So I would not only be unmuting myself, calling people's names, allowing them to talk, asking them if they'd like to share a camera, pushing them to a panelist, waiting for that to go through, then having them show the camera. And then when they're done, I have to demote them. Then I have to switch to the other attendee tab. I'm going into too much detail, but you can see how doing all of that for, let's say, 20 callers became very hard to manage. And for that Cherry Point meeting, we actually had, I believe, 3 IT staff members on the meeting with us to help us manage that list.
Councilmember Brown?
No, I concur with what Ms. Hulk is saying. If I remember correctly, there was also quite a bit of people saying, effectively asking us for technical support in the middle of the call because they couldn't quite get things to work properly. And the other thing too is when we were meeting live, we did have a video feed, but there was a delay. And that delay was, I think, enough time so that if someone did something completely inappropriate in front of the camera, we could react. And on Zoom, you can't do that.
Councilmember Byrd, did you have any comments?
In the case that someone wants to share something with us, could we facilitate that? That's going to be far and few in between. I think we've probably only had this one person ever ask, but would that be a possibility?
In order to allow someone to share, I have to give them co-host permissions, and they would have complete control over the Zoom council meeting. So I would advise against that.
Okay. Councilmember Byrd, do you want to move to your second item?
Sure. We often have people that come in front of us during 3 minutes and speak, and they finish because they have a question. It happened tonight where someone asked a question and then sat waiting for an answer. If they have 3 minutes and they have plenty of time left, is there a reason that we can't answer their question?
Mr. Brown?
Well, I think it changes the nature from public comment to public conversation. We've never done that in live situations. I'm not sure why we would do it here.
Councilmember Ellenboss.
You know, I was kind of a weird kid, so I would go to council meetings even when I was in high school, and so I've been going to meetings for a while, and it's not unheard of for council to maybe ask clarifying questions in open session, or respond. I've seen it quite often over the years.
Councilmember Kirschner.
I'll say that there are definitely times when I really just want to help the speaker by answering a question, or maybe giving a little bit more information that appears maybe they don't have. I do recognize that if we started doing that, it would turn our open session into a conversation, which may not be a bad thing. But maybe what we could do is ask the chair to use his discretion on either giving a quick answer that's, you know, a request for information, or I don't know if that's opening a can of worms for you, Councilmember Buchanan, but it does seem awkward, and we sit here knowing we're not supposed to say anything, but it would be nice to kind of help that person along or help them out.
We have done actually done the clarifying question thing. If it's a very simple question, you know, where was that house located, or something that a council member wants to know. The other direction is where I think it gets a little trickier, because who do you call on to answer the question? You know, is it just open? Does it get awkward? I don't know. But I do know that we've done the clarifying question where if a Councilmember Brenner used to do it a lot. Councilmember Ellenboss.
Yeah, I keep hearing people describe it as awkward, and I guess my feeling is I feel like it's rude. Like I feel rude to sit here and listen to people very passionately say something or look for a response or ask us a question, and then we just kind of stare at them and move on. So I'd really like to figure out a way for us to facilitate, you know, maybe we have open session, and then maybe we have community conversation time. I don't know. It really does feel rude to not respond sometimes, but I totally get how we need to keep our meetings efficient and appropriate and right on down the line. So I would like to, if we could brainstorm a solution to it, but I do understand why we do it the way we do.
There's one thing that we haven't done yet this year, and that's our council retreat, which this would be an item that would be totally appropriate for a council retreat. Are we still planning to do that this year, Dana?
So we haven't, we usually do it when we have new council members coming on board. So it's usually every 2 years, but we can certainly set up a retreat if you'd like, if the council wishes for that to happen this year.
Councilmember Brown?
Yeah, one of the other reasons we historically have not engaged in responding to questions is that inevitably it leads to a back and forth with a person, which gives one person ends up with considerably more time than the other speakers, which is not fair to the other speakers. We tell everybody you're limited to 3 minutes, but if it becomes most of the time it became a back and forth conversation that went on for several minutes. I think what we can do and what we have done in the past in person is we could always say, if you have a question, and maybe even do this announcement at the beginning of the meeting, if you have a question, please make sure you email us your contact details so someone can contact you, because that is something, you know, Barbara was excellent at saying to people, please leave your name and phone number with the county clerk when you leave the podium. and we can still do that.
Councilmember Donovan.
Yeah, no, I kind of appreciate everybody's challenges with this. I can remember one of my first meetings. My instinct was to I want to ask somebody giving public comment. I want to respond and ask them something. And Barbara was sitting next to me. She's like, "We never do that." And then the next meeting, she was doing that. But she would ask very direct, clarifying questions. And I can also remember Councilmember Mann saying, because it will get public comments that are very challenging and disparaging towards the council, and we're not trying to respond to them and being passionate. And he said, this is the first time in my however many years on council that I would ever respond to this, but he did that in other business at the end of the meeting. But yeah, I think the problem is because it's gone sideways a few times. As soon as you do the dialogue, every other member of the audience is going to be expecting a dialogue. And we kind of lose control of public meetings. And then some council members will use that to you get a dialogue with your ally, and then the other people who are not your allies feel like they're not getting that dialogue. So I think this is a good thing maybe to talk about in a retreat of some setting, but we need to have a norm where people in the audience have a sense of they shouldn't be asking questions and expecting responses, but we have some way to get them to be able to get that response in a different setting. And it's awkward, but if we don't have those norms, we can kind of lose control of how the public comment goes.
Councilmember Byrd.
Yeah. The easy way to do this is just simply to tell people, hey, you still have 3 minutes. If you have a question, we can answer it if there's time left. Otherwise, we'll have to get back to you and you'll need to leave your information. And that keeps your time constraint, it keeps your 3 minutes in place. But, I ask you all to put yourself in those shoes. I mean, people are coming up. Right now, it's worse than ever. They show up to give public testimony to us. We turn off our camera. We give them a stopwatch timer and say 3 minutes. They don't get to ever see us. They don't get to see anyone else. They never get a response. They don't hear back from us. And it feels like we're not listening to them. And it's something I hear all the time is that people feel like we don't listen to them. And so taking that time to answer the questions, at least within that 3 minutes, if they have one, I think is helpful for that. We're community members just like them, right? I mean, I don't want to build up barriers that make it so that people feel like they can't talk to us or like it's not worth their time showing up. I'd rather try to find ways to break those down so people feel more open to communicating with us and feel like they can and are less nervous about it so that we're more reachable from that standpoint. And I think that's a simple way to go about it.
Mr. Donovan, then Ms. Frazee.
Well, I was trying to be tactful about this, but be a little less tactful. So the times this happened it was actually you, Tyler, and doing dialogues with the audience, and that intimidated other people in the audience who were going to be giving public comment because they were worried, and we got feedback on this, that then they'd be worried about council members interrogating them. And I appreciate your wanting to, have the dialogue, but once we open that can of worms, we're really changing who's comfortable testifying. If they don't use their full minutes, then I can say, hey, talk to me and give me some points that I want to hear. And that's what was happening. So it's, yeah, it's great to say we want to hear everybody and give them this space, but it makes it a more adversarial space than just letting people talk and we have to just kind of listen. And then we figure out a way we can respond, or we can get their input where we're not doing a dialogue, and then we're using audience members to advance our talking points, and then in doing that, intimidating other audience members because they might expect them to be cross-examined. And that's what happened in the past. And you were at those meetings, and you were the one doing it.
Councilmember Frazee.
I like the idea of talking about this during a retreat and getting our norms down. One idea would just be, we take notes while people are speaking, and then right after the open session, after everyone speaks, maybe then we can answer questions that were brought forward. Another idea would be, when Kathy Hulka has the how to get into the meeting and everything, maybe also have here, maybe it's already on there, I'm not sure, but here's the council at co dot, with our email that will go to all of us for any extra questions directly to council. So, but I would like, this would be a great retreat discussion of what our norms are and yeah, how we want to go forward.
Councilmember Kirschner.
Yeah, so on that vein, I would move that the council asks the council staff to schedule a retreat for us. And I'd also like to add to the agenda beyond this, Executive Sadu asked the council to come up with some items that we want to work on. So we could also be doing that. And I would suggest that we start with the let's see, let me call it the well-developed plan that we had last summer that we sort of blew up at the end. But I think we could start there and see if there's anything to salvage and move forward with, so that we're working towards some shared goals, possibly. So that's my motion. Hopefully the council staff got all that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Byrd seconds. Discussion. Councilmember Byrd.
Yeah. Kathy, that sounds like a great idea. I know some of the things that Executive Sadu had mentioned tonight were things that we were putting on that goals and guiding principles document last summer. So it seems like it's come around, and maybe this is an opportunity for us to finally go back to that and head down that process. It would, I think, be beneficial for us as well as our community. So I'd like to see that as well. Thanks for bringing it up. Also, I want to clarify, there was one person that said that they felt that way when I asked questions of them. And since then, I made it a point of asking people if it was okay if I asked them a question, so that I could avoid putting somebody on the spot that feels that way. But for me, again, it's about learning, and I can't learn if I can't ask questions. And I think it's important because people want to know that we're listening and we are interested and we care about what they say. And when they take the time to show up and speak to us in 3 minutes and we do nothing, that doesn't affirm any of those things. But when we do ask questions or we answer questions, I think that it goes a long ways in stating just that. And I went so far as even asking people after that comment, because Todd brought it up last year when he threw a tantrum about it. That was a problem. And I asked a lot of people from both sides, and no one else had ever expressed anything to that extent. So I feel comfortable asking people questions personally. But to bring it back to this conversation, I'm not saying that we're jumping in on the Zoom calls and asking questions, although I would love to be able to do that again. What I'm saying is, when you have someone like tonight who asked us a question, and they're not familiar with the process or anything else, they showed up to ask us a question and they had time left in their 3 minutes. It seems like a good opportunity for us to engage with them and answer their questions so that they leave with something and feel like they got their questions answered and are fulfilled. And I know every one of you in school heard the same thing, which is don't be shy, ask a question, even if it's a stupid question, because there's someone else sitting out there in the room that is too afraid to answer that or ask that question. And so us answering it for you lets everyone else who's afraid or shy get the same answer. I think that applies here as well. There's a lot of people we hear the same things from. And if we could answer the question from someone who asks it, you're probably going to answer that for a lot of other people that are on the list that won't get it via email.
Okay, our motion is to have our staff schedule a retreat. Any further discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Barry Buchanan,
Yes.
Tyler Byrd,
Yes.
Todd Donovan,
Uh-oh.
Ben Ellenboss,
Abstain.
Carol Frazee,
Dane.
Kathy Kirschner,
Yes.
Red Brown,
Stein.
I guess it failed.
Okay, the motion fails. 3 abstentions, 3 in favor, and Mr. Donovan out of the room. Okay, so any council member updates? Ms. Frazee?
Yes, I just want to thank Nadine Hansen for all of her service, and yeah, and just she'll be missed, and we're glad she worked with us, and just hope she has the best retirement ever.
Councilmember Kirschner.
Yeah, I'll echo Carol's thoughts towards Nadine. We'll really miss her. And I also wanted to just kind of make a public service announcement that February is Protect Your Heart Month. And heart disease is the #1 killer of both men and women in the United States. And so if you haven't had your cholesterol checked in a while, it's a good idea, your blood pressure, and make sure you talk to your doctor about any risk factors, because you can stop the deadly disease if you take action when you're young enough. And so that's kind of my push to everybody in Whatcom County. Let's try to stop heart disease. February is the month.
Thanks. Councilmember Ellenboss.
I got two things. One kind of has to do with the conversation we had earlier in our, I don't recall which committee meeting, but I have the numbers in front of me on how much the city of Linden has paid to the Conservation Futures Fund. And from 2001 to 2010, they paid $391,250.92. And from 2011 to 2020, they paid $574,195.10. So that might address some of Councilmember Brown's concerns earlier. And then the other thing is, since our letters have gotten some traction, a few more constituents have come to me asking if we could write letters. And so, well, I have 2 letters that I'm working on that I was planning on having in front of you today, but then things happened, namely a few cows decided they were going to have their calves 2 weeks early. And so I didn't quite finish those letters, but one of them has to do with, sorry, I don't know if you can hear that, but I can't think when baby girls start screaming. But one of them has to do with addressing the Point Roberts border situation, and I think I need some help on that one, because there's a few things. I'm getting conflicting reports, but I think the people of Point Roberts would really appreciate it if they could travel a little more freely between their homes and the mainland United States. And so I'm working on a letter to whoever we need to address to help fix that. And I hope you guys can support that when I get that in front of you. And the other letter I'm working on, and it may not be near and dear to your heart, but it sure is near and dear to a lot of my constituents' hearts, is some of the inequities that have come out in regards to COVID restrictions around high school sporting events. So the issue there is the governor has said that 200 attendees will be able to attend these sporting events. And that's fine and dandy if you're a volleyball team and there's only, 10 or 11 kids on each team. There's a lot of opportunity for parents to attend those events. Those are in gyms. The problem is when you have a varsity football team where you've got 50 to 70 kids on the roster and you're still limited to 200 people. I know that Linden had a football game the other day with Mount Vernon, and I believe the picture I saw showed 4 people in the stands, 4. And that's at an outdoor sporting event. So I think that some of the football parents are feeling like they would really like to be able to support their children in their activities. And the fact that, you know, you can go to a restaurant and it's 25% capacity. I think that some of these folks would appreciate some consistency there and say maybe they could have 25% capacity in these outdoor stadiums. Because only having 4 parents in the stands is a pretty sad situation. You know, and I understand COVID. COVID's a real deal, but we do know how to protect ourselves, and outdoor stadiums are probably one of the easiest places we could socially distance and still gather. So I'm working on a letter to address that, and I hope you guys will support it, because I think it's a lot more powerful when it comes from all 7 of us.
Councilmember Brown.
A couple of things. First off, shout out to Nadine. I'm really sorry we don't get to say goodbye to you in person. Hopefully you'll come back for a visit when the COVID is over. As to Ben, as to your interruption by your granddaughter, I'm just jealous. There's no negative, I'm just jealous. And then back to the issue of Lyndon, I compiled an email earlier today, which got stuck in my outbox, and I've sent it on to you all. It's in response to Mayor Cortiz's comments. If you live in South Bellingham, you pay within $5, you pay exactly the same amount of taxes in where I live in South Bellingham as I would for the same value property in Lyndon. The difference is in Lyndon, they collect $20 out of the total tax bill for parks. And where I live, I would pay $180. And for most people in Bellingham, they would pay $80. So I pay $160, most people pay $80. So the reality is that Bellingham taxes itself to a much greater degree to pay for parks. My issue is not that Lyndon has contributed to the Conservation Futures Fund, because, by the way, they contribute exactly the same amount per dollar of valuation as I do in Bellingham. My issue is if we're going to start using county conservation futures money to fund city parks, that money must be made available to all cities on a proportional basis, not just to the city of Lyndon. Because as Mayor Cortiz says in his email, they have recognized that while their tax rate is the same, what they haven't done is their impact fees are way out of whack in terms of that's not his words, that's mine. But their impact fees for park impacts, they've had to double them because they recognize they were far too low. And that's the reason they need financial help. It's because their impact fees have been too low.
Mr. Ellenboss.
Yeah, Councilmember Brown, you had the opportunity to vote on those taxes for those parks, and your community chose to do that. And they haven't done that in Lyndon. But they do pay into this fund, and they chose to use this fund in that way. And we give them that opportunity to present to us on projects, and they have, and we voted for it. So I hear what you're saying, but I still don't really get on board with the thought process there. But that's why there's 7 of us, so we have 7 different thought processes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yeah, makes that's a good point about having different thought processes and diversity up here. But I think you're also neglecting that the point that there's a lot of different funds that this county has, and that every one of the cities that we have gets disproportionate value from each of those funds. And there's nothing in there that says that everything has to be equal. And if there was, we'd be doing things a lot different ways right now. Ultimately, what you're looking at is this is a fund. The tax was passed for a very specific purpose. The project that they're asking for fits that purpose. So it's eligible, and we should be able to fund it. Personally, I'm applauding Linden for this because at the end of the day, instead of raising taxes and going out and asking for more money, they're looking internally to all of the programs that we have available and saying, how do we maximize the money that we're already using and taking from people? And I appreciate that. I don't want to see a fund growing for millions of dollars and not getting used at the end of the day, only to have us raise more taxes. I'd much rather see us utilize those funds for what they were meant for.
Councilmember Frazee?
Yes, I appreciate these council member updates. I thought we kept these into our, when we were talking about these issues, but maybe this is an okay way to do it.
Councilmember Brown?
Well, it is a little bit out of sequence, Ms. Fraser, you're correct. The good news is it's still on the public record. So, yeah, listen, again, I have no issue with, and I've said this in the email, I have no issue with Linden using the money for city parks, but if it's not available to every city jurisdiction, including Bellingham, to use for city parks, then one city, in this case, probably the city of Bellingham, is subsidizing the city of Linden's parks. And that doesn't seem to me to be equitable.
Councilmember Ellenbach?
I hear Councilmember Brown's statement that it isn't available to the other cities. And I just want to say that it absolutely is available to the other cities. They just need to bring forward proposals, just like Linden did. So we're not saying that it isn't available to them. It is available to them. And the thing that impressed me the most about this proposal was the amount of private money that they've raised. Just community members donating to this cause. And there was a time in my life that I lived right next door to that property, and I have a real soft spot in my heart for that little area because I spent a lot of time there as a kid, and it makes me happy to think that it's going to stay that way for other kids to get to enjoy the way I do, because it's probably pretty valuable housing property where it's at. I mean, anybody would probably love to live right there, but I'm glad that it'll be able to stay a park now.
All right, and thank you all for your council member updates. Anyway, we'll see you all when we see you. We are adjourned.